fabulous people. Anna Sabramowitz here. Hope you're having a fabulous day. It is just an awesome day today, and I wanted to share this little bit of this aha moment that I had with you, because I think that it will help you when you're working with people who are trying to help you design better interactive experiences, but they have no clue what you talk about. They're like the neighbor who doesn't know what to do, which is very common because like our world is very special. Our world is very specialized as well, and we work with a lot of special tools, right? So one of the things that I'm always thinking about is, how can I get somebody else to collaborate with me? How can I get the deep smarts out of their brains, out of their heads, without them getting all messed up with the stuff that I do, with the things that, I like my storyboard reality. How can I get them to engage with me in a way that doesn't really affect them too much and stress them out too much and make them feel like they're taking on more than they really are ready for? Like, how do you do that, right? And then also, how do you get them to give you the info that you need without having to teach them everything about e-learning and instructional design and all that other jazz? So, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but this happened to me when I first started working with subject matter experts. What happened is I would have like, up front, I'd be like, okay, so how much time do I have with this person? Okay, all right. So I'm able to, sometimes you'd have a dedicated subject matter expert. Sometimes you'd have somebody who is very much like they're like, I can give you 6 hours of time, and part of that time is for us to talk together about what's important, develop some stuff, and then also review time, right? So I have to like chunk that time, and that's pretty stressful because I don't know if you're like me, like I'm trying to get the most out of that person in that time, because that's not a lot of time. And by the way, just before I forget, if you love this stuff and you like the kinds of content that I'm putting out, if you like this particular topic, give it a thumbs up and let me know that you enjoyed it, because then I'll make more of it. If people don't vote, then that means that they didn't really like it, and therefore I won't make it again. I'll pick something else to talk about. But this is very important to me, and it has definitely impacted my work. So if you feel the same, let me know. That would be awesome. So one of the things that is pretty crazy is that I used to try to write down everything that the person said. And it would be, there would be this back and forth of like all this information. Then I'd go back to them and be like, did you say this? You said this. Can you give me more details about this? Because I'd have to review my notes and think about what they said. And that's pretty inefficient. So one day, what happened is I was working with this company, and we had like these dedicated subject matter experts that would be working on our projects. But one of the things that we arranged was to talk to actual practitioners. Now here is a telltale sign that you're talking to a rockstar practitioner. They don't have time to work with you. Figure that out. The reason they're a rock star and they're doing their thing is because they're doing their thing, and it takes time to do their thing, and they're a rock star, and they're not really involved in like the training department. They don't have like days and days to dedicate to you. In fact, the people that I was going to work with, that I got to interview for my scenarios, this was crazy. They're like traveling between calls in some sort of a northern state, and they had like half an hour, or I had half an hour to talk to them while they're driving. And I was like, oh, like seriously freaked out. I'm like, 1, I only get to talk to this person once. 2, I'd better get everything I can out of them. 3, I'm a noob trying to get all this stuff out of them. And also there's all these like people listening on the calls to make sure that, I'm asking the right questions, because it was pretty like, everything had to be kosher. So there's a lot of pressure, okay? A lot of pressure. I didn't want to be a fool there. And also, the worst thing is, like, imagine spending this precious time finally getting this meeting and then walking away from it. I didn't want to walk away from it like I had walked away from other meetings, which is sometimes like, oh God, I didn't get there. I didn't get what I needed. I didn't know how to ask it, or they just didn't know how to answer those questions. And so I don't have the luxury of coming back and saying, hey, can you clarify that? So here I am And I'm getting freaked out about this call. I'm like, I want to make sure I got to do a good job, get everything I can out of these people who are so busy. And then my boss says, don't worry about it. We record these calls. And I was like, what? I was like, this is what? You record the calls on the phone? Of course, to me, that was like novel technology back then. I was like, what? You do this? This is amazing. It's like, yeah, we do that. So just, do your thing, but just know that it's being recorded. So at that point, I really didn't get what that meant. I really didn't. How beautiful this thing is for me. How helpful and awesome recording calls is. If you do nothing else, just think about this way, because there's so many benefits to it. It's just, I really didn't realize it until I started really just doing that, recording every single call I had. I now record everything because the mind is full of terrible fallacies. It tells itself stories, it wonders, it imagines things. And when the minute you are doing that, the minute you're doing something else, it zones out, right? There's no such thing as multitasking. There's task switching. The problem is when you're task switching, you miss things. And to tell yourself anything else is delusional, because this is science, kids. So I didn't know this. So what happened is, this was just for me like, poof, slam, and like, boom, just, that emoji where the brain kind of has like a big bomb kind of, yeah. That was me. I get the script back. And I didn't really know. I was like, okay, well, whatever I missed taking in my notes, I'll get it in this transcript. I get the transcript back and I'm like, I missed whole chunks of stuff because there's no way I could write it fast enough. This is the other thing you do when you take notes. You are trying to put their language, whatever they're saying, in a succinct way. Even if you're typing, you're trying to write that in a way that it's your words now. That's the problem. You're now translating what they're saying. You're condensing it. You're adding your language. And it's wrong because it messes up what they're saying. And there's a reason why it's important that you capture that. So I get this transcript back. It's beautiful. It's got so much juicy info, so many things in there. And I thought, this is a game changer. I am never doing this any other way. This is a total game changer. And it's funny. I don't know if this is like a North American thing or just a thing, but I was like, are people going to be okay with me recording them? Like, are they? And now I realize, of course they are. Let me give you the simple, crazy trick that I use to get people to say yes when I ask them to record the session if I can. Here's what I do. Okay, you ready? I go, hey, all right, so I can't take notes as fast as you talk. And I want to capture everything that you're saying so I don't miss anything and we make the most out of this time. I'm going to record this call. Okay? Nobody's ever said no. Why? Because they realize that is the truth. And also, they don't want to waste their time and have me go, hey, I didn't catch that. Can you say that again? Now, the thing is, when you only have 30 minutes with a person, you really got to be on top of your questions. You really got to be focused. And this is what I thought was the most amazing, beautiful thing. I mean, I hope you guys are getting this because this is like, for me, this was like a boom memory emoji. By the way, before I forget, I have a webinar coming up. It is going to be awesome. It's going to be more of this. So if this is one of those videos where you are like, yes, this is it. I love this stuff, Anna. I want to be better at not only, creating interactive stories and doing all this stuff, but also I want to be better at working with people who know nothing about what I do. How do you use those people to help you? Because you need them 1000%, but how do you do that well? And what are the tools, tips, strategies, and lessons and things that I can avoid to make that happen? elearningsecrets.com, register there. The minute it's live and going, you'll be notified. All right. So this is the other thing that I really got out of that experience. And that is that when you are designing your learning experience, what you really need to focus on is who are you designing it for and who speaks like the person that you're designing it for. And I don't know if you didn't see my video yesterday. That's totally fine because I'm going to draw this fancy little thing for you anyways. So yesterday I talked about, our audiences. Our audiences are not all the same, right? We know this. But some people are completely cold. Like when I say cold, what I mean by that is they don't know anything about what you're talking about. And the challenge is that sometimes our only source of information is experts. And experts have no clue what it is like to not know what you don't know. They have no clue. And they don't know what is it going to take because they don't remember, because they're experts now, been for some time, what it was like, what are the challenges, what are some of the ahas that needed to happen for this person to actually find the learning that you're designing of value. So you need to talk to people who are practitioners, who speak the lingo, who have a recollection of what it was like to not know and struggle. Struggle's so important, right? How are you going to craft a good story if there's no struggle? That's not a story. So one of the things that really just made sense for me there is, boom, I got to talk to practitioners. I got to talk to people who understand what it's like. And this is the thing. When you talk to practitioners, your time constraints, boop, just get smaller, right? Because you don't have much time to talk to these people. And you don't have time to set them up going, so what we're doing is this online learning, and what we're crafting is an online experience where it's really interactive and people are going to get to go through this journey and make decisions. They're like, I got to get back to work. So one of the things you need to do is make that super powerful and super focused and super punchy and get as much as you can in that 30 minutes as you possibly can. And guess what? That's what I've been trying to figure out, hone, and design so that it is, every time I do that, it's a better experience. And now I've been teaching others how to make that experience for when they're interviewing their experts and their practitioners, how to make that experience efficient and effective so that when they get that transcript back, they're like, oh, this is good stuff. I can use this because I followed a process. It wasn't random. These aren't random conversations. So I just want to, one of the things that is kind of interesting that comes out of this is, even if you get a chance to follow up with somebody afterwards, and usually I recommend you do, because a lot of times what happens when you read the transcript, you're like, oh wow, that sounds like a difficult decision. I wonder what made it so. And that gives you some questions about, like, maybe this is one of those decisions that's really difficult for people to make. We should really focus on it in our learning. And it's kind of cool if you can go back to the practitioner and be like, listen, you said that this was really, difficult, and you said this. Why was that difficult? Can you give me more info? Like, if you didn't catch that in the moment, now you can come back. This is the beautiful thing, though. When you're reviewing the transcript and pulling out pieces that are like, oh, that would make a really solid, like, scenario right there. That's awesome. You're using their language. You're pulling it out the way they said it. And you know what happens when you use people's own words? They really like them. They're like, oh yeah, that's a good way. Like, they might not even remember they said that, but that's the way they said it. So it sounds to them natural, and it sounds to them like plausible, and therefore it makes sense. And therefore it's easier for them to get back into that mindset of like, oh yeah, that's what happened. So it's a beautiful thing. So here's some details that I was like, here's some reasons why you should definitely be recording calls with practitioners and why you need to make that a really streamlined process, because you're trying to generate interactive stories. And remember, I said you're not trying to be the storyteller. You're kind of like, you're the director. You're the Steven Spielberg of e-learning and interactive stories. You are not coming up with them. You're taking a fabulous blockbuster book like Jurassic Park, right? And taking that and modifying it for your needs to make it a visual cinematic experience. We're doing the same thing. We're taking practitioner stories, combining them, and turning them into something magical for somebody to get aha moments, right? So when you interview somebody and you give them the opportunity to just speak instead of them watching you type or write, they give you way more info. Because they'll just talk. There's no like filter. They don't filter themselves, because a lot of people, even if you tell them like, I'm so fast at typing, they will still like hold back because they're judging your typing based on how fast they probably type. And if they don't type fast, they're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna say the word slower, and then the nuances don't come out. So you want it to be as natural conversation as possible. The other thing is, what you're doing is, when you're able to talk to that person and there's no barrier of capture between you, what happens is you're able to make really good eye contact. And if you're remote, I suggest you turn on your camera, because it's very important. Even if their camera isn't on, your camera's on, that you're paying attention. And also the fact that they can see your face means they can trust you more. So you want to do those things to stack the odds in your favor that they'll share a good story, right? The other thing is, like I said before, you want to capture how they speak, how they say things, because manuals suck for that. Manuals usually are written in a terrible, inhuman language. Here you get to see the language in action, translated. I'll talk to sometimes people who are in the field, and they'll make words shorter, because that's how they talk to each other. They won't say like, just a terrible example, they won't say document. They're like, where's that document? They'll be like, where's that doc, or whatever. And when you're crafting dialogue and scenarios for people, the closer you are to the way those people actually speak, the less formal it is, because you're trying to emulate a conversation, let's say, sometimes, the better the people who are in it will get lost in it, right? Because it actually sounds like something that they would say or their peers would say. So it's huge, right? You want to capture the language almost exactly. And it's usually much clearer, much simpler than anything we would come up with, because we're not in that world. So it's fabulous. Yes, so the other thing that it does for me, as far as I'm concerned, is when I'm talking to somebody and I don't have to think about capturing anything, and I can focus on what they're doing, and if it actually helps if I can see them or listen to them very attentively, because then I can really pick up on nuances and emotion, and I can figure out when those moments happen, when I can actually say, wait, can you give me a little bit more info about that? Or why is that difficult? Why you stopped there? Why did you stop? What happened? Is that a difficult situation? Like, I'm able to do that. I'm able to give them 100% attention, right? I told you, multitasking is not possible. You will lose things. So this way you're like focused in on them. You only have 30 to 45 minutes, let's say. Make it count, right? And basically my message was that if you're able to just really pay attention there, you can pick up on emotions. Because the thing is, all this stuff is out there, all these decisions and all this stuff is out there, but you're trying to find the stuff that actually really matters. And that stuff is always attached to emotions and beliefs, assumptions, the stuff that isn't on the surface, right? So that's what this allows you to do. The other thing that I found is that every time you get back a script, you can see what you said. And then you can modify your questions, because you don't remember what you said, or sometimes you add words that make an impact, and you're like, that's going to be a question that I'm going to say that exact same way, because look at the gold that it produced. So it also allows you to evaluate your own process, your own style, and adjust it as needed so that you grow as well. So if you like this, share it with your friends, of course. Share it with somebody who you think will find it valuable or would get a little bit of an aha moment from it. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, post them in the comments. Do go to elearningsecrets.com to register for my webinar that's coming up. And let me know by voting up if this is something that you enjoyed and you found it valuable, and I'll make more. All right. So have a excellent rest of the day, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!